Metasploit exploitation, using Metasploit for scanning, vulnerability, assessment, and exploitation. Introduction, Task 1. In this room, we will learn how to use Metasploit for vulnerability scanning and exploitation. We will also cover how the database features make it easier to manage penetration testing engagement with a broader scope. Finally, we will look at generating payloads with Msfvenom and how to start a Meterpreter session on most target platforms. More specifically, the topics we will cover are how to scan target system using Metasploit, how to use the Metasploit Database feature, how to use Metasploit to conduct a vulnerability scan, how to use Metasploit to exploit vulnerable services on target system, and how Msfvenom can be used to create payloads and obtain a Meterpreter sessions on the target system. Please note, for all questions that require using a word list, an example, brute force attacks, we will be using the word list on the attack box found at the following path. And as you see here, we have the path. If you opt to use your own machine, please download the word list by clicking the download text file button to the right, which is here. And we'll start attack box and run Metasploit using the msf console command to follow along this room. Task 2, scanning. Port scanning. So let's start a machine. We deployed the attack box. Now let's start Metasploit. So msf console. While that runs, let's start a machine. Okay, port scanning. Metasploit has a number of modules to scan open ports on the target system and network. You can list potential port scanning modules available using the search port scan command. So let's get that. Search port scan. Port scanning modules will require you to set a few options. So here it says show options. Concurrency, number of targets to be scanned simultaneously. Ports range to be scanned. Please note that 1 through 1000 here will not be the same as using Nmap with the default configuration. Nmap will scan the 100 most used ports, while Metasploit will scan port numbers from 1 to 10,000. Rhost, target or target network to be scanned. Threads, number of threads that will be used simultaneously. More threads will result in faster scans. You can directly perform Nmap scans from the MSF console prompt as shown below faster. So we have Nmap, and then we got the option, and then we have the IP. As for the information gathering, if your engagement requires a speedier approach to port scanning, Metasploit may not be your first choice. However, a number of modules make Metasploit a useful tool for the scanning phase. So we have UDP service identification. The scanner discovery /UDP suite module will allow you to quickly identify services running over the UDP user datagram protocol. As you can see below, this module will not conduct an extensive scan of all possible UDP services, but does provide a quick way to identify services such as DNS or NetBIOS. SMB scans. Metasploit offers several useful auxiliary modules that allow us to scan specific services. Below is an example for the SMB. Especially useful in a corporate network would be SMB_enum shares and SMB version, but please spend some time to identify scanners that the Metasploit version install on your system offers. Okay, when performing service scans, it will be important not to omit more exotic services such as NetBIOS. NetBIOS, Network Basic Input-Output System, similar to SMB, allows computers to communicate over the network to share files or send files to printers. The NetBIOS name of the target system can give you an idea about its role and even importance, example, Corp DC, DevOps, Sales, etc. You may also run across some shared files and folders that could be accessed either without a password or protected with a simple password. Example, admin, administrator, root, tor, etc. Remember, Metasploit has many modules that can help you have a better understanding of the target system and possibly help you find vulnerabilities. It is always worth performing a quick search to see if there are any modules that could be helpful based on your target system. Let's go with the first question. How many ports are open on the target system? Now, if you recall, we could use nmap from Metasploit. But first, let's look for our IP. Okay, so nmap. We'll do minus sc. Let's check the version too. SV. And we're gonna check every port with this option. T4 to speed things up. T4. Let's do a minimum rates. This is for the packets, so n dash rate. We're gonna do 93.26 per seconds. And rate, we gotta do it equal 93.26 AV. And here's where we put the machine IP, which is our target is 10.224.158. Now remember, for your box, it'll be something different. And we'll let it do its thing. So our scan is complete. And let's scroll up. Right here it says we have 4 ports. Like 4 ports. Let's go up a bit. These 2 are open. FTP, SSH. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 445, 222, 22, 139, 21. And that complete. So I want to go with this. We have 5 open ports. That is correct. Okay, using the relevant scanner, what NetBIOS name can you see? So asking us for NetBIOS. Let's see if that showed up. Actually, it did right here. So 139 TCP, NetBIOS. We have a work group named Acme IT Support. That looks about right. Acme IT Support. That is correct. What is running on port 8000? And I think I saw this. If we scroll up a bit, discover open port 8000 TCP. Do we have more details? So if we scroll down a bit, we have the NetBIOS here. Now we have a port they're asking for, 8000. And it looks like this header right here, webfs/121. Let's see what the hint. Use the HTTP version model. Yeah, so that's exactly what they want. HTTP server header, the model webfs, webfs/121. What is the penny user SMB password? Use the word list mentioned in the previous task. Okay, so we scroll up here. This is the word list. So we have to run a brute force attack. Okay, so this is going to require some steps. We want to do this. Our MS console. So first let's search SMB underscore login. Okay. So we're gonna use 0. For MS SMB login. Now let's show options. Okay, let's see. Put this bigger. Okay, so I see our host. We have our host here, so let's set that. Well, first let's set the pass file. Set pass file. So I'm using this pass file, the file containing password 1 port line. So we take that, copy this. This out the way. Paste it. Okay, that is set, the pass file. Now let's set the R host. And the R host is the target IP. 10, 10, 4, 8. Okay, that's set, and now let's run it. Okay, it's scanned, but I did receive error starting the brute force, can't blank. And 10, 2, 2, 4, 1, 5, 8. Okay, I think maybe because I missed the S here. I'm not sure if this is case sensitive. Let's give it a try. Okay, now let's run it. Credential details can't be blank. Okay. Okay, so I was looking that I missed the user. So we have to set that user. Set and so here's the SMB user. That's right here. So set SMB user Penny Penny. Okay, so let's give it a run now. It completed. Okay, so we see all these failed, but we have one that passed, and that's Leo1234. Leo1234. So don't forget to put the user Penny to do the brute force attack. Okay, the Metasploit Database, this is task 3. While it is not required when interacting with a single target on TryHackMe, an actual penetration testing engagement will likely have several targets. Metasploit has a database function to simplify project management and avoid possible confusions when setting up parameter values. And we have an intention here to use the Kali Linux box before we were using the attack box. Okay, you will first need to start the PostgreSQL database, which Metasploit will use with the following command. Okay, so let's open up our terminal. You see here, our GUI is way more different than what we had before. So we'll start with system ctl start PostgreSQL SQL. Okay, Then you will need to initialize the Metasploit database using the msfdb init command. And we have a database has already started. Checking the configuration file. And we'll pause for this to complete. Okay, so this has completed. Let's open up a new tab. Because now they want us, you can now launch MSF console and check the database using the db status command. So let's launch it, MSF console. Let's give that a minute to load. Okay, now that it's loaded, we want to check the status, and we do that with db underscore status. And it's saying we're connected. That's what we want. The database feature will allow you to create workspace to isolate different projects. When first launched, you should be in the default workspace. You can list available workspace using the workspace command. So let's give workspace. And as it says here, we're on the default. You can add a workspace using the -a parameter or delete a workspace using the -d parameter respectively. The screenshot below shows that a new workspace named Try Hack Me was created, and they did that with the -a. So we'll do the same. Let's do workspace -a, and we want to name that Try Hack Me. Workspace -a Try Hack Me, and that created a workspace. Okay, you will now notice that the new database name is printed in red, starting with this symbol. And we have it here. Add a workspace. Workspace Try Hack Me. Well, we got some Try Hack Me. Oh, because they initiated the workspace command. Yep, so we have it in red with the symbol. You can use the workspace -h command to list available options for the workspace command. So let's get that. Workspace -h. And here are our options. Different from regular Metasploit usage, once Metasploit is launched with a database, the help command will show you the database backend command menu. And right here we have, what they said, just help. If you run a nmap scan using the db nmap shown below, all the results will be saved to the database. Okay. db, all the results. Okay. So let's give this nmap command a try. So it's db underscore nmap -s capital V. Want to do all the ports, and let's input our IP, and remember that my IP will be different from yours, so make sure you input the proper IP address. So we see it started. We'll pause it and let it do its thing. So nmap is now complete, and we go here. You can now reach information relevant to the host and services running on target system with the host and services command respectively. Okay, so let's go to host. And okay, so this is our target, unknown device. And let's do services. And here are the services running: Samba, WebFS, OpenSSH, Pro FTP, all running on TCP. And here are our ports. The host-h and service-h command can help you become more familiar with available options. Once the host information is stored in the database, you can use the host-r command to add this value to the host parameters. Example workflow. We will use vulnerability scanning modules that find potential Msfvenom-010 vulnerabilities with this command here. Okay, so let's see if we run that. Copy this, we already inputted use. Paste from clipboard. Okay, so now we're here on auxiliary. And we set the host rights using the host-r. So at the host rights, the host value, our host value using host-r. Okay, we got that set. We have type show options to check if all values were assigned correctly. In this example, this is the IP address we have scanned earlier using the DB nmap. So let's show options. And yep, you see it's listed here, the IP. Yep, that seems right. Okay. Once all parameters are set, we launch the exploit using the run. So it looks right. And let's just hit run. Okay. Host does not appear vulnerable, scan 1. Okay, let's see what else it says. If there is more than one host saved to the database, all IPs will be used when the host-r command is used. In a typical penetration testing engagement, we could have the following scenario: finding available hosts using the db nmap command, scanning these for further vulnerabilities, or open ports using a port scanning module. The service command used with the -s parameter will allow you to search for specific services for the environment. So let's give that. I may need to come back to this. I'm not 100% sure if I was supposed to get another output, and that's because it says host does not appear vulnerable. But let's continue with services, and we're going to look for NetBIOS. And right here we have two, port 445 and 139. And from our last task, this was the work group, Acme IT. Okay, so we look like we're following along. You may want to look for low-hanging fruits, such as HTTP could potentially host a web application where you can find vulnerabilities like SQL injection or RCE, remote code execution. FTP could allow anonymous login and provide access to interesting files. SMB could be vulnerable to SMB exploit like Msfvenom-010. SSH could have default or easy to guess credentials. RDP could be vulnerable to blue keep or allow desktop access if weak credentials were used. As you can see, Metasploit has many features to aid in engagements, such as the ability to compartmentalize your engagements into workspace, analyze your results at a high level, and quickly import and explore data. So let's move along to task 4, vulnerability scanning. Metasploit allows you to quickly identify some critical vulnerabilities that could be considered as low-hanging fruits. The term low-hanging fruit usually refers to easily identifiable and exploitable vulnerabilities that could potentially allow you to gain a foothold on a system, and in some cases, gain high-level privileges such as root or administrator. Finding vulnerabilities using Metasploit will rely heavily on your ability to scan and fingerprint the target. The better you are at these stages, the more options Metasploit may provide you. For example, if you identify a VNC service running on the target, you may use the search function on Metasploit to list useful modules. The results will contain payload and post modules. At this stage, these results are not very useful as we have not discovered a potential exploit to use just yet. However, in this case of VNC, there are several scanner modules that we can use. Okay, so on this example, let's see if I could run use from here, use auxiliary. Okay, so we have 3 here. So I see they use the VNC login, so let's set to 1 and follow along. VNC login. Okay. Okay, so I ended up clearing the screen. So let's go back to use auxiliary scanner VNC. Let me set. Okay, so the actual command is use 1, not set 1. And we want to use this module, the scanner VNC login, as it states here. Now they want us to use the info command, and you can use the info command for any module to have a better understanding of its use and purpose. So let's maximize this, and once we launched it, the name, license, was provided by, and here are some of the modules. Okay. As you can see, the VNC login module can help us find and log in details for the VNC services. Okay, first question. Who wrote the module that allow us to check SMT service for Open Relay? So let's see if we search Open Relay. Open SSL, Open VPN. Doesn't seem right. Let's see if we can just put one word. That didn't provide anything. Okay. Okay, so let's check SMT relay. Let's see, search SMTP relay. How about if we just search? Oh, okay. Probably be good if we spelled search right. SMTP relay. That'll give us a clue. Thus, we have SMTP, claim A. So what we want is open SMTP, but we also want relay. MB, SMTP. So I scrolled up a bit and I found something. Auxiliary scanner SMTP relay. I believe that matches the closest. Auxiliary scanner SMTP. And that would be 15. Let's see, we use 15. And we have SMTP relay. And if we do info, who wrote the module? SMTP open relay. Provided by Campbell Murray. Let's give Campbell Murray a try. That is correct. Task 5, Exploitation. As the name suggests, Metasploit is an exploitation framework. Exploits are the most populated module category. You can search exploits using the search command, obtain more information about the exploit using the info command, and launch the exploit using exploit. While the process itself is simple, remember that a successful outcome depends on a thorough understanding of services running on the target system. Most of the exploits will have a preset default payload. However, you can always use the show payload commands to list other commands you can use with the specific exploit. So while we're at it, let's launch a terminal. And once we launch our terminal, let's run msf console to get Metasploit running. So Metasploit is up. Remember, we could use the search command. And we're going to use eternal blue. So let's do a search Msfvenom underscore 010. Let's see what we populate. So here they're using Windows SMB MS17 010 eternal blue. So it's this one too. So let's use 2. And it says no configure. So let's show the payloads. And here we have a list just like they have here. Once you have decided on the payload, you can use the set payload command to make your choice. Okay, so they use set payload 2, and that gave the generic shell reverse TCP. Okay, so let's set that, set payload 2. And that is set. And let's do a show options. And here we have something similar. The target, the listening. Did I have to configure that? Listening to something else, 101. L host is this machine. L port 444. And here we have our exploit target, Windows 7 and server 2008. Okay. So now that choosing a working payload could become a trial and error process due to environmental or OS restrictions such as firewalls, rules, antivirus, file writing, or the program performing the payload execution isn't available. Example, payload pathos shall reverse TCP. Some payloads will now open new parameters that you may need to set running the show options command. Once more can show these. As you can see in the above example, a reverse payload will at least require you to set the lhost option. Okay, 10.10.186.44. That's their example. So let's set host, set lhost, and we're gonna do our IP, which is 10.10.236.105. And that's set 10.10.236.105. And then they run it. So let's see what happens when we run. Okay, we gotta set our host too. Let's continue. Once a session is open, you can background it using Control-C or abort it using Control-Z. Backgrounding a session will be useful when working on more than one target simultaneously or on the same target with a different exploit and/or shell. And right here we have working with sessions. The sessions command will list all active sessions. The session command supports a number of options that will help you manage sessions better. And you can interact with any existing session using the session I command followed by the session ID. Okay, first question. Exploit one of the critical vulnerabilities on the target VM. So I cleared my machine. I know when I ran lhost and we ran it, it gave an error before. So I did the set lhost and I put set rhost. Let me stop this just so you can see. So we set rhost to the target machine. And now when we run, it's running the exploit, and it says exploit one of the critical vulnerabilities on the target system. And if we look here, host is likely vulnerable to MS17-010, Windows 7 Professional 7601 Service Pack. I'm assuming it doesn't have that service pack. So let's complete this. And then it says, what is the content of the flag text file? So we'll let this complete and we'll look for that text file. So this is completed. So what we want to do is now find this flag. So how we do that is we search -F for the file and we do flag.txt. Okay, no research from the search. Maybe we need to back out of this. Okay, so I cleared the screen. First, let's try to run the nmap to confirm that that's what we're looking for. So we'll run this one, nmap -sc, and we'll get RIP of 10.10.236.105. And we'll let that run. Okay, so we got our results and we have some discovery here. We see it's running Windows 7 Professional 7601. And if you do some research, you will know that this is what we want to run. Is missing a patch. And also if you look at the hint here, it says the target is missing MS17-010 patch. So that's what we want to exploit. Okay, so we'll go again and set our host 10.10.236.105. And that set the host again. And let's revert the L host, because that is our listening. And I believe I put it before as the target. So we'll do set L host. And that should be 10.10.101.33. And let's give it a run now. And we'll wait for it to do its thing. Okay, so to capture this flag, there's a few steps we have to go through. I started everything from scratch. So we'll go again and launch Metasploit. Let's wait for it to start up. Now that we're here, let's search for MS17. And we want to use, let me do MS17 _010. And we want to use this module, Eternal Blue. So let's use 2. And now we want to set the payload. So let's show payloads. And we want to use the reverse shell reverse TCP. So let's set payload 2. Set payload 2. That's set. and we're gonna instead of set L host, let's set our host, and we'll put our target machine. That's 10.10.81.218. And now let's run. So we see here the command shell session is open. And from here, we can let's have it running on the background with Control Z. And we're going to say yes for session 1. We have it running on the background. Let's see how. No, let's relaunch it. So sessions 1. There's no session. Let's get back to that. Forgot the yes. So starting interaction again. Now instead of running it on the background, if we hit enter, it gives us a Windows system. So if you see here, it looks like it's a command prompt. So now let's go back. Actually, no, we have a hint here. We need to, what is the content of the flag.txt file? So let me get into the root of this and we'll do a search. Okay. And the way we search for Windows, directory, and we're looking for flag.txt. It's in a few things. Flag.txt. And if we see here, the directory is on C users, John documents, and here's our flag. So now we have to find a way to open this through here. So let's see if we can see the contents of the text file the same way we will use on Linux using the cat command. But since this is giving us a Windows command prompt, so we put type C drive, and the path is users, John, and documents, and what we want to open is flag.txt. It gave us access denied. Okay, type drive. Oh, no. Okay, maybe C and then the backslash, the path to the file. This, no, I don't think that's directory, users, John, documents, then flag txt, and that is not recognizable. Okay, let me try to get cd into that file. So I paused the video, and what I did was I cd into the file to the path, and it confirms here that we have a flag text file. Then we went into it here. We typed in type, then C for the drive, users, John, document, flag.txt. Still gave me access is denied, but error occurred. But nevertheless, we have the flag here. So let's see, we could copy, bring it here, to put it here, copy from the clipboard. And that worked. Okay, so for the final question, what is the NTLM hash of the password of the user pirate? So I opened up a new machine and I'm gonna run the Metasploit MSF console. Basically, I'm just gonna start it off from scratch. This task was quite difficult, but as you can see here, I have the answer and I'm gonna go through it. So we'll just let this launch. Okay, now that we have Metasploit running, let's search for MS17 underscore 010 as we did in the past. And let's maximize this. So we used module 2. So let's use 2. And now let's set our R host to this IP. So set our host and our IP is 10.10.157.88. And I'm not gonna set a payload. I want to keep it with this, with the one that's already configured. And we have that set. So let's run it. So you know the module is complete once you get this right here. And we had a hint here to use hash dump. So let's type in hash dump. And we're looking for the user pirate. And this is the hash. And just be mindful that it starts from here. So you copy this, you paste it here, and that is your answer. Task 6, Msfvenom. Msfvenom, which replaces MSF Payload and MSF Console, allows you to generate payloads. Msfvenom will allow you to access all payloads available in the Metasploit framework. Msfvenom allows you to create payloads in many different formats. We have PHP, executable, DDL, ELF, and etc. And for many different targets, Apple, Windows, Android, Linux, etc. And here we have the command with the payloads. Output formats. You can either generate standalone payloads, example Windows executables for Meterpreter, or get a usable raw format, example Python. The Msfvenom list format command can be used to list supported output formats. Encoders. Contrary to some beliefs, encoders do not aim to bypass antivirus installed on the target system. As the name suggests, they encode the payload. While it can be effective against some antivirus software, using modern obfuscation techniques or learning methods to inject shellcode is a better solution to the problem. The example below shows the usage of encoding. With the E parameter, the PHP version of Meterpreter was encoded in base 64 and the output was raw. So we see here, generating a PHP payload. Handlers. Similar to exploits using a reverse shell, you will need to be able to accept incoming connections generated by the Msfvenom payload. When using an exploit module, this part is automatically handled by the exploit module. Remember how the payload actions title appeared when setting a reverse shell. The term commonly used to receive a connection from a target is caching a shell. Reverse shells or Meterpreter callback generated in your Msfvenom payload can be easily caught using a handler. The following scenario may be familiar. We will exploit the file upload vulnerability present in DVWA, damn vulnerable web application. For the exercise in this task, you will need to replicate a similar scenario on another target system. The DVWA was used here for illustration purpose. The exploit steps are: first, we generate the PHP shell using Msfvenom. Second, we start the Metasploit handler. And 3, we execute the PHP shell. Msfvenom will require a payload, the local machine IP address, and the local port to which the payload will connect. Seen below, 10.0.2.19 is the IP address of a Kali Linux machine used in the attack, and the local port 777 was chosen. So here we see they set the IP, and right here is the local port that was chosen. Please note, the output PHP file will miss the starting PHP tag commented and the end tag in this question as seen below. The reverse shell PHP file should be edited to convert it into a working PHP file. Below, comments are removed from the beginning of the file. Okay, and here's the end tag. While we use multi-handler to receive the incoming connection, the module can be used with the use exploit multi-handler command. Multi-handler supports all Metasploit payloads and can be used for Meterpreter as well as regular shells. To use the module, we will need to set the payload value PHP/reverse PHP, in this case, the L host and L port values. So here we set the host and we set the ports. Once everything is set, we will run the handler and wait for the incoming connection. When the reverse shell is triggered, the connection will be received by multi-handler and provide us with a shell. If the payload was set as Meterpreter, example in a Windows executable format, multi-handler would then provide us with a Meterpreter shell. And here we have other payloads. Based on the target system configuration, operating systems, install web server, install interpreters, etc., Msfvenom can be used to create payload in almost all formats. Below are a few examples you will often use. In all these examples, lhost will be the IP address of your attacking machine, and lport will be the port on which your handler will listen. And here we have the Linux executable and link format. And the L format is compatible to the exe format in Windows. There are executable files for Linux. However, you may still need to make sure they have executable permissions on the target system. For example, once you have shell elf file on your target machine, use the chmod +x shell elf command to accord executable permission. Once done, you can run this file by typing ./shelf elf on the target system. And here we have the commands for Windows, PHP, ASP, and Python. All of these examples above are reverse payloads. This means you will need to have the exploit multi-handler module listening on your attacking machine to work as a handler. You will need to set up the handler according with the payload, lhost, and lports parameters. These values will be the same you have used when creating the Msfvenom payload. Launch the VM attached on this task. So we have the VM here. The username is Murphy and the password is this. You can connect via SSH or launch the machine in the browser. Once on the terminal, type sudo su to get a root shell. This will make things easier. So we type sudo su, asking the password for Murphy, and as stated here, this is the password. Create a Meterpreter payload in the ELF format on the attack box or your attacking machine of choice. Okay, so to create a Meterpreter payload in the ELF format on the attack box, let's take this command here. Let's copy it, and on the clipboard, we will do some modifications. So while we're at it, our attack box, it will be our listening port. So it'll be 10, 10, 224, 128. And the port, I'll just use 1234 for this example. And we're missing an F here. Let's copy. This is going to close, we'll reopen it. That looks good. Let's execute. And we'll hit complete. Okay, so I got back an error, and I see here I put 2 dots on the IP address. And I also missed the 128. So let's rewrite that. 1010.224.128. Okay, so it created. Now let's hit ls and see if the payload created. And we have it right here, reverse shell.lf. So let's move along. So now we want to transfer it to the target machine. You can start a Python web server on your attacking machine with Python 3 -m http server and 9000 command, and use wget http attacking and to download it to the target machine. Okay, so let's move along. So the first thing is to get a Python running, Python 3 with the -m option, and we're gonna name this http.server and 9000 command. 3. Okay, for a better view, I SSH to Murphy right here on our attack box and input our credentials, which you could find here. Murphy, and this is his password. So now we're logged into the machine, and they want us to use this command. Use wget. You know what? What if we just copy this? Also, you see here that I believe they forgot the reverse shell. We named ours. I'll confirm. Well, so that's the okay. Might as well modify here. So put our IP 224 and 224.128. And from the command, we name it reverse shell of. So this is missing. Reverse _ shell. Copy that. paste it. Fail name, okay. Okay, I see this attacking underscore, and that's not part of the IP. So let's run it now. And still nothing, permission denied. So let's see, we get HTTP, okay. Okay, so I kept getting a permission denied, and I noticed that when I was running the command, I wasn't a root user. So I logged in again, and now it looks like it gave me root access. So let's attempt again. Let's make sure we have the server is running, the service, okay. So the command was wget http / our IP is 10.10.224.128. I still have it here. That's the port, and this is the file, rev_shell.elf. And it looks like it retrieved the file, so this is done. Okay, following, we need to get a Meterpreter session on the target system. Okay, but before we move along, let's see if that file is here. It is, and let's give it right, so if we do need to run it. I'm starting to see that at first the permissions ELF. Okay, great. Okay, so I loaded up MSF console, and now they want us to start a Meterpreter session. I use exploit multi-handler, and now you see we have multi-handler, and now we have to set a payload. And to set the payload, let's use set payload I believe it's equal Linux x86 Meterpreter. I think we used this one before. reverse_TCP. Okay. Okay, I don't think you have to put the equal on payload. So payload, let's get the equal sign. There we go. Okay. Now that we have that, let's do our show options. And I believe we have to set the L host. So remember, the L host is us. We're the listening, so we do set L host and input our IP. And in my case, it's 10.10.224.128. And if you see here, the port is 444, but you remember, in my case, I set it to 1234. So let's fix that. Set L port 1234, and that's changed. And I believe we're done here. So let's give it a run. What I do? Go back. We're here. So let's run. And attendant what it's supposed to do. We wanted to get the session open so it could listen. So this is just going to sit here listening. I believe what we need to do now is run the file. So we have ref.shell.elf, and if yep, it worked. So now as you can see, we're running our session, and that's how we got Meterpreter running on the target machine. So now they want us to use a post-exploitation module to dump hashes of other users on the system. And to do this, we could do a run post Linux gather hash dump. And as we can see, we have other users. We have Clary and Unshadow. So use post-exploitation module to dump hashes of other systems. Oh, okay, so yep, it gave us that. Close this. This is completed. And what is the other user's password hash? So we have Clary here. Now, from what I recall, this doesn't start till you got a /. So this is Murphy, and I say you got a / here. Oh, this can't be the answer. Give it a try. Anyways, let's see what happens if we take all this. Paste it. Nope. Clipboard. Okay. Copy all this. Paste. Ah, it took it. So that completes that. Okay, summary. You should now have a better understanding of how Metasploit can help you identify potential vulnerabilities on target system and exploit these vulnerabilities. You have also seen how the database feature can help you with penetration testing engagement where you have multiple potential targets. Finally, you should have gained some experience with Msfvenom and the creation of standalone Meterpreter payloads. This is especially helpful in situations where you can upload a file to the target system or have the ability to download files to the target system. Meterpreter is a powerful tool that offers a lot of easy to use features during the post-exploitation phase. And this completes our chapter.